Real quick before we get things going, I know you're sick of me telling you this, but the Kakapopo TCG Endless Dice Kickstarter is ending in less than a week, so if you want to get your hands on a set of these wicked cool metal dice, be sure to use the link below because a portion of those sales will come back to the channel and help me keep creating these weekly videos. Now, I got my hands on a set of these dice early, and I'm currently painting a D20 in the colors of the first Founding Space Marine chapters. Now back to the video. What's happening, hobby people? My name is Jacob from the Dry Paint Pot, and today I'm going to share with you the 5 things that I wish I knew when I first got into the hobby, so stick around. I started painting miniatures 3.5 years ago while I was working as a manager at an independent movie theater.
Who shall not pass? Everybody back there.
A miniature game store opened up next door. I knew nothing about miniature gaming whatsoever. I played video games, that was it. I didn't know anything about minis. And when I first went in there, I wasn't sure if it was my thing. I don't want to say it was weird, but it was out of my realm. I didn't understand how the games worked and why people were building things and building terrain. It was just a lot for me. So a couple months later, a buddy of mine wants to start playing D&D after work, and now we need minis. He explained that we can play without them, but we could also play with them. And having that option I thought was really interesting. So I run next door, I grab some Reaper minis, I learned how to paint in a quick crash course, and 3.5 years later, I'm here. I've got my YouTube channel, I'm on Instagram, I'm commission painting, I've got my Deathwatch Guitari Guardsman, my Knight, my Seraphon for Age of Sigmar, I've got some Batman minis, I've got so many Reaper minis, I just can't keep track of them. So yeah, I'm in this, and I've got so much paint. The amount of paint that I have is worth more than like my computer, okay? So it's a lot. And I've had an amazing time in these past 3.5 years, an absolute amazing time. Miniature painting has changed my life. But if I could go back in time and talk to myself real quick before I got into miniature painting, I would just let myself know a few things. Now, these things are very important to know, both if you're starting out fresh in the hobby or if you've been in for a while. A lot of these things that I'm going to talk about stick with us in the hobby, and it's hard to recognize them until it's brought up. So let's get things started. So the very first thing on my list is FOMO. If you don't know what that means, FOMO stands for fear of missing out. And a lot of people in this hobby suffer from FOMO, including me. I'm not one to be excluded. If you follow any other YouTube channel that has anything to do with miniatures at all, you've probably heard of FOMO. Now you see Games Workshop and a lot of other miniature companies will get a lot of hype for something, or they'll say that it has a limited release, or that it's some special edition item that you need to get, or they'll explain that you need this one unit to just destroy the competition. It's just so much hype follows these models, and you feel like if I don't get that model, I'm gonna miss out. If I don't get the Indomitus box in time, then I'll never be able to get my hands on it. I'll never be able to get those awesome Space Marines or the really cool Necrons, or if I don't grab that named character right away, it'll disappear forever and I'll never be able to paint it or include it in my army. But the awful thing about that is if you're on any budget, like 99.9% of us are, it's gonna mess up your budget. You're gonna end up spending money that you might not have. It's really easy to convince yourself to buy that model or that box thinking, well, it's a good thing because I'm getting it now and later on I won't be able to get it. But you got to think to yourself, do I need it? Is it so important to me that I get it right now? Think of the Indomitus box real quick. Just a couple months ago, the Indomitus box dropped and everyone was so worried that they wouldn't get their hands on it. Everyone was running all over the place. eBay was flooded with pre-orders, and the scalpers were going crazy. It was a disaster, absolute disaster. And you know what? It's now September, and my local Games Workshop and local game store both have copies of Indomitus in stock. They didn't go anywhere. GW even put out more boxes. They saw that there was a limited supply and they said, okay, well, people really want this and the scalpers are just ruining the community, so let's go ahead and push some more out, and they did. So everyone had a fear of missing out, and because of that, they panicked And some of them spent way more money than they had to. You know, some people bought the Indominus box for $500 and something on eBay when they could have spent like, I don't know, like $180 at your local game store. But if you even go to your Games Workshop, you're spending like $210 on the box. So the fear of missing out will not only destroy your wallet, but also it'll give you a bad feeling inside about this hobby. Now hear this out real quick. Now, if you're always afraid of missing out on things, you're not gonna feel satisfied in the hobby. You know, you're gonna feel like everyone else has the thing that you want. And you just get stuck in that cycle that, you know, oh, I want this, but I can't afford it. Or, you know, I really want this new model that's coming out. I need it so bad. And that want leaves you just so empty inside. I know I felt it when the Indominus box dropped. I hadn't bought new models in a long time. And, you know, there was just so much hype behind it. I felt all of a sudden like I needed this. When in reality, I really didn't need it. Did I get it? Yes. Yes, because I split it with a friend of mine. But I didn't buy it from a scalper, and I didn't buy it before I had someone to split it with. If I would have given into that fear of missing out, I would have bought the complete set right off the bat and had no idea what to do with the other Necrons. I would have been out $100 and something. So the very first advice that I can give is don't let that fear of missing out take over, because it'll make you feel awful and it'll kill your wallet. So next on our list is something that I struggle with myself, and that's hobby jealousy. I sometimes look at other people's models and I become so jealous, and jealous in an almost bad way. You know, you look at something and you're like, how do they get that good? How do they do that? And then in come the excuses. They have nice brushes, they have better paint, they have a nicer setup. And sooner or later, you notice that you no longer want to paint anymore. You no longer want to paint your models because let's say you painted a Space Marine, you're an Ultramarine player, and you think you did a pretty good job, but then you go online or your local store and you see models that are painted better. I mean, at the end of the day, someone's going to be a better painter than you. Someone's going to be a better painter than me. There's a lot of people that are better painters than me. But if you get into the habit of always looking at other people's work and thinking, well, this could be better, or I wish I could paint like that, you're probably going to lose interest in this hobby, and that's an absolute shame. I remember playing like 3 tournaments back to back to back and winning best painted every time. And then like on my 4th game, I lost. And I looked at the other army and I was jealous. I was like, oh man, how does he do it like that? I looked at his army and I saw that he used like a texture pen to do his bases, and I thought like, oh, that's cheating. He didn't do it by hand. I mean, I was fresh in the hobby, okay? Don't judge me on that. And it aggravated me a little bit. I wanted to be the best.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was.
I wanted to be so good because I was so in love with this hobby. But now I look back at it and it's kind of funny. I'm like, what? I don't get why I was so mad. I just don't get it. Now, to this very day, I do, like I said, I still see other painters and I'm a little jealous, but in a good way. I'm like, oh my God, how do they do that? That's gorgeous. I wish I could do that. But when I say I wish I could do it, it's because I want to work to get there. I want to eventually paint like them. I'm not just saying it and getting upset. So if you're like me from 3 years ago, just keep in mind that you can get there one day. And I'm not just saying that like, you know, reach for the stars and you'll make it, or if you want to be a whatever, you can do it. I really mean it. You can eventually get there, because there were painters that I admired and I thought I would never get to their level. And now I'm there. And I'm looking at different painters now whose level I want to get to, and I have faith that I'll get there if I just keep painting, if I just stay in the hobby. So don't let jealousy ruin this hobby for you, whatever you do. Paint a mini, be proud of it, move on to the next one. And if you see someone else's mini who looks better, just accept it. That they're maybe a little better at painting right now. But use that as fuel to get better, pick up the next model, and keep working at it. Because I 100% guarantee you, if you keep doing that, you keep picking up the next model and painting it over and over and over again, you're going to get better. The next thing that I wish I could have told myself was to paint everything. Paint it all. Get your hands on so many different minis and paint all of it. Now wait, I know you're gonna say, Jacob, that's a total contradiction. You just said don't buy all those different minis for all the different games, and now you're telling us to buy them all and paint them all? Hear me out, okay? When I say buy a bunch of different minis, I mean a variety of minis. If you play Space Marines, try to get some models that have, you know, just their heads, not the helmets on. Try to get models that have hair, some of them that have mustaches. You know, do some kit bashing and add some extra things on there. Get some skulls, get some power weapons. Do whatever you have to do to paint different things. Now, if you just play D&D, you're in luck, because Reaper minis are fairly cheap. You can get a ton of different ones and you can use all of them. You know, you can make a campaign for those models that you haven't used, that have just been like sitting in the back of your closet waiting to be painted. You can make a campaign for them, bust them out, paint them up, and what that's gonna do is it's going to allow you to paint all sorts of different textures and colors, and you're going to learn what you like and what you don't like. This is super important when you first start getting into the hobby, because if you don't know what you like, you might end up with an army that you hate painting. You see, hobby boredom can come from many different things, but one thing it comes from is painting something over and over again that you hate painting. If you hate painting hair and all of your models are hairy, like you're playing dwarves or something, you're gonna not paint those models. So they're gonna be gray. You know, you're gonna have them primed, or maybe not even primed. They're just gonna be sitting there unpainted, and there's gonna be very little that's gonna motivate you to get them painted. Now, if you love like edge highlighting, buy Tau, because Tau models have so many sharp edges, and you're gonna have a field day painting them. You're gonna have so much fun getting your army done. You're gonna be motivated to get that army complete because you know that you love painting that thing. But you're not gonna know that you love painting that until you paint everything. Also, it's very easy to become stagnant in the hobby. It's very, very easy to find what works for your models and keep doing that over and over again. It's good because you do get models painted, but you're not gonna go further in your skill. What you have to do is challenge yourself, and that's something that I have to do right now. You see, I'm at a point in the hobby to where I know how to paint a Space Marine, I know how to paint a Skink, I know how to paint a Necron, and I have a system down. I write down how I paint these things, and it works well for me, but I'm not going further. I feel like I'm starting to stall, and that's awful because I want to get better as a painter, so I need to try new things. That's why next week's video, I believe, is gonna be on basing, and I'm gonna do so many different things that I've never tried before and just wing it, just give it a shot, because I'm not gonna know if I'm good at it until I try it. And I might fall in love with some new system that's gonna make my models look so much better, and I'll just have to work at it. So if you're doing the usual base coat, edge highlight, and you're painting the heavy metal way, try doing some non-metallic metals. Try some zenithal priming, give new things a shot. Just see what happens and figure out what you like. Because at the end of the day, all that's gonna happen is you're gonna get models painted. That's a win for me. So this next one is something that I definitely wish I would have told myself when I first started playing tournaments. Now, another quick story. I started playing tournaments at that game shop right next door to the movie theater that I was working at. And I met so many awesome people. And even though I moved out of that town, I'm still good friends with so many of those people from that store. So I became very comfortable there. I was having a blast. Everyone was very supportive. And that's one good thing I can definitely say about this community is almost everybody is super supportive. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some people out there that aren't that great, and it's a shame because I've had such a great experience being a part of this community that I think it's a shame that other people have to ruin it for everyone. So back to the story. I'm playing these tournaments, and I was playing against this one individual who I will not name. Now, I rolled a die that was just barely cocked, and he looked at me and said, I would usually make you re-roll that, but it's okay, don't worry about it. Now, I thought he was just being nice, but what was really happening was he was taking advantage of a new player. And that's why this next point is not everyone is your friend. Later on during that game, he was doing some wicked bad measuring. I mean, really pushing it. He was like 7.5 inches away on a charge. He'd roll a 6 and he's like, I think I'm in. And I'd look at him and I'm like, I don't think so. And he'd look at me and say, hey, we're just having fun. And that was like his tagline. He just kept saying, hey, we're just having fun. But we're playing a tournament. We all paid to get in. And he wanted to win as much as I wanted to win, as much as anyone wanted to win there. So I didn't speak up. I didn't say anything. This was all new to me, and he was a veteran there. He had been playing longer than I'd been alive. And because I didn't say anything, he got away with a lot of bad stuff, and I lost. Now, I'm not saying that I lost because I let him win, because at the time, I really wasn't a great player. But even at that moment, I knew that some of the stuff he was doing was just against the rule. It was bad play. And it's easy as a new player to feel very intimidated by older players, especially, like I said, if they've been in the hobby as long as you've been alive. So don't be afraid to say something. Don't be afraid to mention something to the other player, because if they're really there to have just a good time, then they're gonna have no problem, remeasuring or checking things one more time or looking for line of sight real quick. Now, if that person is trying to cheat and they're still giving you a hard time, just talk to the event organizer. That's why they're there. They want everyone to have a good time, so they come back again and play again, and spend money at the store. So just remember, if someone's being really nice to you, that's great. But if they're being really nice to you so they can take advantage of you, that's not right. It's our job in this community to keep things running smooth and clean. And the very last thing, and I hope you're not disappointed with this, but it's have fun. Now, before you click out of this video, just wait 2 seconds, okay? When I say have fun, I'm not saying like, oh yeah, go play a game, have fun. Like, have fun. Like, really have fun. Edge highlighting sucks. I hate edge highlighting. I mean, you might like it, but I can't stand edge highlighting. But when I'm doing it and I'm, having an awful time, I'm getting paint all over the place and places I don't want it to be, I have to think to myself, well, I'm still painting a mini. That's still fun. I'm still getting something out there. I'm still listening to my audiobooks. I'm still getting things painted. So it's still fun. When I'm commission painting and I'm just sick of painting the same thing over and over and over again, and it's not even for me, it could be very easy to just look at it and be like, this sucks. No, I'm just not having fun. And the paint's not going where I want it to. It's drying too fast. I'm having all these issues. It's so easy to just look at everything and say, well, this is shit. But at the end of the day, you're painting minis. You built something, you're painting it, and by the end of it, it's gonna be done. And if you hated painting that one thing, that's why I say paint everything. Be done with that and just move on to something different. But don't stop, just have a good time. Pretend like you love to play, 40K, and every time you play a game of 40K, you lose. Now, it's really easy to look at that game and be like, well, I suck, I don't wanna play this anymore. And that's awful, because now you're out of the hobby. You're out of a game that could be really enjoyable. But instead of looking at it like that, think, hey, I came out here today and I played a game. I took some time out of my day, I relaxed, I just, rolled the dice and had a blast, because at the end of the day, I try not to think of this myself, it's a game. These were all part of a game. And for some of us, it's more than a game, but it's still a game. And I'm not downplaying what this is. I'm saying it should be fun. That's what we're here for. We're here to have fun. So don't be discouraged. And if you have a large pile of shame, you have a stack of unbuilt minis and prime stuff or things that are half painted, don't think of it like, oh, it's so awful, I have all these minis that are unpainted. Just think of it like, hey, look at all these awesome minis that are ready for me to paint. It's like you already knocked out step 1, pick up the mini. You don't have to worry about that. It's already been purchased. It's there waiting for you. Now you just have to paint it. Or if you're halfway through painting something and it's not finished, just think of it like this, like, hey, I'm halfway done with that. All I have to do is put in, another half of effort, you're done. Now, it's easier said than done, but, interact with the community. Get on Instagram, get in the Discords, talk to people, and they will motivate you to go further, to keep playing, to keep painting. And it's the community that's kept me going and that's pushed me this far to be on video number 21 now. So real quick, just thank you guys so much for tuning in, for watching these videos. It means so much to me. You have no idea. I'm still practicing self-quarantine, and to be here and to be a part of the community, just making these videos and having so much fun, I wouldn't trade it for anything, besides maybe a trip to Disney. Now, I'd like to thank my patrons, Leandris and Che Phillip. Thank you guys so very much. It's your contributions to this channel that keep these videos coming each week. And if you'd like to become a patron, get your hands on a dry paint pot sticker, watch these videos early, and all the other goodies that come along with being a patron. I'll drop a link to my Patreon below. And if you'd like to just hang out and talk about the hobby, I'll also drop a link to my Discord down low too. Now let's check out this week's viewer submissions. All right, so I'm super excited to see these. These are by Che Gavesa, and this week we have Fred and Scooby. These are so fun, so fun. I love how all the colors match up to the cartoon. Scoob looks great, Fred looks awesome, and great job with what you did to Fred's pants. By turning that McCrag blue into like a contrast consistency, it really seeped into all the recesses well, and the natural highlights just look great. I can't wait to see them based, and I can't wait to see the rest of the Mystery Gang. This is just such a cool project. Now, this model is by my buddy Minis Collector, And he actually took these pictures using the technique that I showed off a few weeks ago. And if you want to take pictures like this, check out the link above. The cloth is highlighted well. I like how it wasn't just drenched in wash. You know, a lot of people like to go for cloth and just drench it in wash and try to highlight it, but the wash will dry funny and you get those little rings. Now, I'm not trying to talk bad about y'all because I've done it myself. I love the dark and deep low lights, especially at the bottom of the mini and on the shirt. And the glass bottles look great. Now feel free to share any of your work with me both on Instagram and Facebook because I pick my favorites each week and I feature them in my upcoming videos. Now wash your brushes, clean your paint pots, and keep on painting.